Today on Hebrew Book Review, Counting in Hebrew by Sarah Mazor. Welcome back to Hebrew Book Review. Today I am reviewing Counting in Hebrew for English-Speaking Kids by Sarah Mazor. This is a book that teaches the numbers from 1 to 10 in Hebrew. So this book is a little different from Sarah's other books that I've seen in that it doesn't tell a story. It just basically gives the numbers in masculine and feminine and also teaches the words for family members and other people that students might know in their life, like teachers and students, but it doesn't actually tell a story about them. It is 0% religious, and most of the words are written in a large font, which is relatively easy to read, although it has a shadowing on it that is a little bit odd. But for the most part, the font is very easy to read. And there is no cursive anywhere in the book, and it is written in Ktiv Chaser, so the traditional spelling. If the students know their letters and their nikud beforehand, then they can use this book to practice reading as well as learning the numbers. But if they don't, there's a transliteration on every page, and so it's not required that they know their letters already. And so this is just an example. Pretty much all of the pages are the same. On the left side, they give the number 3. They write it in the Arabic numeral. And then they give the masculine on top, shlosha, and the feminine on the bottom, shalosh. And then on the right side of the page, we see the word with a noun. And this noun happens to be sons and daughters. So it says up top, shlosha banim, and then it gives you the transliteration and then the translation, 3 sons. And then down below, shalosh banot. And it tells you the transliteration, and then it tells you the translation, 3 daughters. And you can see a cute little picture of a family there. And so this is really important because all of the numbers in the ones place and the teens as well have separate numbers for the masculine and the feminine. And this can be a little bit confusing for a child coming from an English-speaking background, that they're not used to having 2 sets of numbers. And so it's good that they teach both of them. And after she gets through all of the family members, then she goes through students and teachers and then readers and writers, right? So a few people who are outside of the family. So my son really had fun with this book. He could already read, so what I did was I covered up the transliteration to force him to actually read the Hebrew. And he did just fine, and it was fun reading the numbers and learning the names of all the family members as well. And for a little extra practice, you could also have them count up from the number 1. So, for example, on the page for the number 5, we've got 5 boy children and 5 girl children. And so you could have them not just say chamisha yeladim, but you can have them count. Achad, shnaim, shlosha, arba'a, chamisha yeladim. And then in the feminine, achat, 2, 3, 4, 5 ילדות. And in typical Sarah Mazor fashion, she gives all kinds of extra information in the book that will help in case the parents are not super proficient in Hebrew. She gives a guide to the transliteration. She gives the number 0 because, of course, you're not counting 0 things. And she just gives all kinds of extra information about the fact that the numbers need to match the noun that it applies to. And also she has extra charts in the back that give the numbers in masculine and feminine. She also has a chart for the ordinal numbers, which is awesome because that's often ignored. And she also gives the singular for all of the items that are in the book, because most of them, when you're reading through the book, you only see it in the plural, except for Abba and Ima, which are for the number 1. So she gives all of these words in singular and in plural so that you can see what the singular and the plural are for both of them, for all of them. I also really like how on the page with babies, she gives a quick little explanation at the bottom of that particular page so that you don't have to look at it wondering if she made a typo. The word for baby is tinok, and that's a boy baby, and a female baby is tinoket. But in the plural, they both use the feminine plural ending, tinokot. And that can be, again, confusing if the parent isn't quite sure about that. But she gives a quick little explanation at the bottom of the page just to make sure we're aware that that wasn't a typo and that this is the correct way to say boy babies. So my son did really enjoy going through this book. It was a real quickie. It was a reading practice for him. When he was finally able to put together syllables and say multi-syllable words, it was great. This was a great book to get him practicing saying actual Hebrew words. Before this, I had him just saying names of his characters. I had trouble finding good materials for him, so I just made them on my own. And so this was a great way to get him reading actual Hebrew words, because that was really important to me, but he was not ready to be trying to read a sentence. And I love that all of the nouns are people, because again, it can be really difficult for a young child to understand that all nouns in Hebrew are gendered. That's a really difficult concept for them. And so, but they're used to the fact that we have boys and girls, and we use he for boys and she for girls. And so this is a concept that they can understand. So that helps them understand better why you use shtayim with this female noun and shnayim with this male noun. It's much easier than saying, oh, well, books are masculine, but notebooks are feminine, right? That's something that's really hard for them to understand. So she did a good job there. And really, I don't have much negative to say about this book. The only thing, and this is very typical in Hebrew books, is that there's no guide to the stressed syllable. And so that can be, if the parent doesn't speak Hebrew or is not very strong in their Hebrew, then having a transliteration that does not indicate which syllable should be stressed can be a little bit problematic. And I'm thinking specifically of the word shmone, 8, and in feminine, it's shmone. The stress is on the O. And in masculine, it's shmona. And the stress is on the last syllable, the A. And there, when you look at them, they look exactly the same. In the transliteration, you can see that there's an A in the masculine and an E in the feminine, but you can't tell that there's a different stress pattern. But again, that's pretty typical in Hebrew books. I really wish they would find a way to indicate the stress on syllables because that is kind of important. So that was Counting in Hebrew by Sarah Mazor, a great little book to get kids counting and reading simple words. As usual, if you have any questions or feedback, let me know in the comments. And if you have a book you'd like me to review, definitely let me know and I will try to find it and do a video on it. Hit like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you want to see more. On Sunday, I'll have a vocabulary video, and on Tuesday, I'll have another grammar video. So go ahead and check those out, or you can just wait for next week's video, which will be on Otiot Bagan. Lehitraot, Papa Ama Ba'a. See you next time.